Okay, so let's say we have a timeline here, and we have two actions, two things that happens, right? We go to the park, and we go to the library. So first of all, how's going to go is to go. We know that's true, right? 2, which is we got that. So going to the park. Park is 公园. And it goes something like this. Now, what about library? Library is 图书馆. 图书馆. Now, 2 means picture, 书 means book, and 1 means building. These are things we're gonna be looking very often. So 2, 书, we know that. Two, 书, and 1 means actually building. 图书馆. So going to the library is 2, 图书馆, and going to the park is 2, 公园. Okay, we got that. Okay, let's say we're gonna we want to express in a single sentence these two activities, these two things that happens, and one happens before the other one, right? So for that we can use 以前 and 以后. So before, and we use something stronger. Before and after, and they're quite similar. 以前 以前 is before, and after is 以后. After. Now, there's a few particularities here. You cannot start a sentence with this one. You cannot start a sentence with this one. Like in English, before to do this I do that, or after I went here I did that. You cannot start a sentence with these ones, okay? So yeah, you cannot start a sentence with this one. So we'll see how we can use these two. Okay, so we know that. So let's express. So we have these two activities, right? Let's say first this happened, and then this happened in terms of time, right? So so in Chinese you would say, if you want to say that first you went to the library before to go to the park, you would say 我去往 公园 以前 我去 图书馆. So I went to the park, but first I went to the library. So I guess the translation of this, it will be the key for this, it will be kind of like add the but, right? But. So I went to the park, but first I went to the library. So this is kind of like a trick for you to try to understand better how this works. Okay, so the but is not there, right? The but is not there. It's not present. It's not the idea of the sentence. But if you put it in there, I guess it helps to build the sentence, right? So I went to the park, but again, this is kind of like imaginary or something like that. But first, I went to the library. So how we'll go about this one? Whoa. Went to the park, right? Or to gone yuan, and then but. I mean, but is not it's not there, right? It's just like a mental trick. Etienne right? I went to the park. Etienne我出图书馆。读书馆。So 我去公园以前我去图书馆。So I went to the park. Yeah, I went to the park. But first, I went to the library. Okay, so again, this ETN definitely means before, but not before as we know it in English. I would say but before, right? So I went to the park. 我去公园以前我去图书馆. So I went to the park, but before, if this is acceptable in English, 我去图书馆. I went to the library. Okay, let's try 以后. Okay, what about you want to say that you went to the library and then you went to the park. So if you did it, it will be applied the same kind of technique, right? So I went to the library, but after I went to the park. So, hijo. Hijo. So I will say that wo chu读书王hijo I went to the park. So I went to the park. Then after, in this case, you can imagine that you're using the word then, that though it's not there, it will help you to understand the construction, right? So I went to the park, then after I went to the library. Then I went to the library, I went to the park, I went to the library, then after I went to the park. So it's kind of hard to understand this construction if you just think in terms of before and after. I think it's better to think it in this way. When you think about hijo, which is after, you like to think it, you might want to think it in this way, then after. And when you think about Etienne, you wanted to think in terms of but before, okay? So I did something, whatever, but before I did this something else, okay? And when you think about after, you want to think that in terms of then, after. So I did something, then after that I did this other thing, okay?